It's hard to capture somebody's life in 4 or 5 pages of text, but I truly believe that in every life lived, there's a story to be told.
Mark Fitzell, a photographer from Cashel in County Tipperary, first set up the Many Faces of Cashel as a Facebook group in October of 2013.
Many Faces of Cashel is primarily it's a Facebook page. I was in a local barber shop and I was reading through the local paper and I saw a picture in it. It was a photograph that was taken in Cashel in 1978 on what was known as Quigley's Corner, and there was 5 men sitting on a bench in it. And I wanted to know who the men in the photograph were. So I got that photograph and I posted it onto Facebook. I couldn't believe it. Within weeks, there was a couple of 100 people on the page. The other part of it is the book series. It's my belief that every human being on this planet has a story to tell. And I just feel that through these books, it captures a real snapshot of life in Cashel and in Ireland in this, I suppose, 100 years that the books are covering.
The Faces of Cashel Books project had modest beginnings when local photographer Mark Fitzell decided to create a visual and written record of people living in Cashel, whom he felt had stories worth recording for posterity. By day, Mark works as a special needs coordinator at Scoil Cormac in the heart of Cashel. But since his time in transition year at secondary school, photography has always been a passion.
It was analogue photography. It was before the digital age. And that's where I was first introduced to Mickey MacDonald. Mickey worked as a press and wedding photographer. Mickey used to come into school and he used to give us little lessons in taking photographs, but also showed us the process in the darkroom of how to actually make the prints.
Mickey took Mark under his wing, and over the years, a great friendship developed between the two.
In all aspects of my life, Mickey was a great mentor, great friend. If anything was ever wrong with me, I could always confide in Mickey. We built up a wonderful friendship.
However, in 2016, Mickey was diagnosed with a form of stomach cancer, leaving Mark shocked, but also driven.
Mickey always spoke about a book, and from that, I made a vow to myself that before anything happened to Mickey or that Mickey passed, that I would hand him the first copy of that book. From calling to people's houses, I suppose it's a tradition a lot of photographers would use, that to make their sitter at ease or whatever, that they would sit down and talk to them. And I think from that, making conversation with people, I realised that the people I'd photographed had unbelievable stories to tell. From that, when we started doing the interviews, then somebody could be telling me about an old hotel that was in Cashel, and from that they'd say, you know, I have a lovely photo of that hotel, and that kind of went in with the story. So in the books you had the combination of the portrait that I took, you had the older photos that were remembering, I suppose, the older photographers of the town, and then I had the people's stories.
An official launch was held at Cashel Library to commemorate the release of Volume 1 of The Many Faces of Cashel.
Everybody wanted to talk about it. It seemed to be the hot topic around. And I suppose from there I realised how much stuff I had gathered to do the first book. And I could see that there was a big spillover of stuff left from that to do a second book, that there was a hunger around the town for it.
Having accomplished his goal in creating his first book, there was only one thing left for Mark to do.
The biggest relief for me was following through on that promise and giving Mickey the first copy of that book, to see his reaction, to see his own work printed. There's as much of Mickey's work in the first volume as there is mine. I know he was delighted. I know he was very, very proud of me too. Mickey MacDonald sadly passed in 2017. I think I'm carrying on from what Mickey started, photographing the people on the streets, photographing the people on the corners, people in their doorways, you know, just a visual history of the town.
Notably, Mark emphasises the importance of the people presented in each volume of his books. Sean O'Dear, a lifelong Cashel resident and proprietor of O'Dear's pharmacy in the town, has recently seen his portrait grace the cover of the third volume of the Many Faces of Cashel project.
I think he did my story justice as he did for everybody else. It was so natural and harmless, I wasn't even conscious of being interviewed. And the photograph was taken at the Bohan Score. We were doing a bit of filming up there, and I didn't realise he'd taken the photograph. And now he has embellished the cover of the volume 3 with my image on it. I felt very honoured and privileged. The interviews he has contained in the 3 volumes represent every facet of society in Cashel. And I think he has established what should be a template for any town in Ireland to do the many faces of its own town.
Jackie Price, a local Cashel woman with deep family roots in the town, has assisted Mark with the ins and outs of her own family's stories, which have been included throughout all volumes of the Many Faces of Cashel series.
I came on to the Many Faces of Cashel about a year ago, and I was just blown away by the old photographs. To actually have my family members, their photographs, their stories, my childhood memories, I mean, there's no money can put that there. Everybody in Cashel have the height of respect for Mark. He's an amazing young man. And just most recently, Mark won Cashel Person of the Year award, and it couldn't have went to a nicer fella.
Since the publication of the first book and with the recent success of the fourth volume, The Many Faces of Cashel has established itself as a pillar for history and storytelling throughout the town.
The books mean a huge amount to me, and they're something I'm very proud of, but I think that the people who have family in the books, I can see from them, from the lovely messages they send me, meeting me on the street, what it means to them to have a family member in the book. I would say half of the people who are in the books have sadly passed since we've done them. And I think it's really when that happens that family will come back to me and they'll say, thank you so much for recording my dad or my mum or my nan's story, that we'll have it for future generations. And I don't think that's something that was at the top of my list when I started doing it. But I think as time goes on, I think it becomes more evident to me that that's the real importance of the project.
I was following the eye, was following the eye, was following the eye, was following the eye.
Keeping in tradition and remembering the photographers who came before, Mark hopes The Many Faces of Cashel will continue to act as an account of social history for his beloved hometown.
A man who sadly passed in the last year, Dennis Heffernan, said to me, he said, we write history today, he said, for the children of tomorrow. And I think that's a great sentiment. I would love nothing more than for in 200 years' time for somebody to find one of these books in an attic or in a press or in a library, and for them to say, who are these people? Who were these people? And I think it gives a great snapshot of this 60 or 70 years in Cashel and in Ireland. I'm just the minder of the project at the moment. I hope that in years to come somebody will take it up. Maybe one of my daughters might take it up, I don't know. I think it's lovely that they're showing an interest in it as well.